just two moms. We're expert contributors to FamilyAffaires.com. I'm Christy.
And I'm Debbie.
And today we're going to give you a tip and talk to you a little bit about the spectrum of autism, because autism is a spectrum. We always say, right, once you've met one autistic child, you've met one autistic child. They're all different, like snowflakes.
Absolutely. We talk about that spectrum kind of being on the challenge of half of an umbrella. So you have some children that are on this side of the umbrella that are greatly challenged with either speech and communication, social skills challenges. They might not be able to say the words "I love you" to their moms and dads, and it's very, very challenging. Other children might be in the middle of it, where they're using different forms of communication, like a picture card system, to show their teachers, their siblings, and their parents picking up a card when it's time to eat, or it's time to brush their teeth, or different forms of communication. So it would say the word along with the picture. There are also different technologies,
right,
like a Dynavox, and different things that kids can have voice input. Either they can type something and a voice would come out from that. iPads are phenomenal right now with our kids, with different ways of communication and social skills, apps that you can purchase. And then there are kids that are on the higher functioning form of that spectrum. They might have Asperger's syndrome. So how we describe Asperger's syndrome, it's kind of like a person has no filter on their mouth. They get that thought in their head, and all of a sudden it's shooting out of their mouth whether they want to or not. And that's what me, as a mom of a son with Asperger's, and my husband, we've been always challenged to try to help him make really good verbal decisions. That's
Absolutely.
part of how we had behavior plans when he was growing up. So that's one of the things that it comes to with our kids being on that spectrum of autism.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because even though Debbie and I both have autistic kids, they're very different. My son has PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. Or I like to say, wait and see. He also has ADHD, so it's almost all the letters in the alphabet there. But that falls on the autism spectrum as well. It's not Asperger's, but a lot of times people meet my son and think that he has Asperger's, and they treat him in a certain way. So I think our tip today is really, again, if you meet one person with autism, you don't really know what to expect. You kind of have to get to talk to them and kind of figure it out. Debbie was telling me a story the other day about going to a museum, and I thought it was interesting. And I'll tell you how my son reacted to that.
Yeah, my son was really into different things when he was much younger. He started enjoying classical Italian opera music when he was 11 months old. He went through a lot of different greats in the Italian opera world. And then he started listening to the Beatles, which became a really big staple in our house. We put the White Album on the first time, and he just latched onto it. And it was really cool because it was really cool music. And it brought it back for my husband and I,
right, because
it's just the greatest music written. So we ended up hearing that there was a showing of John Lennon's lithographs in Philadelphia in one of the museums. And it was not a large museum, but I think there must have been about 150 lithographs in this museum. He was 3 years old, and he was still in the carriage, leave the car, take the carriage, bring it to the museum. He, out of the 150 photographs that you were given a sheet on, he started from the left-hand wall, where number 1 was, and went all the way around the room. And then there was this special room that had different lithographs that were really for 18 years old and up. So John actually drew things that were more of the adult nature at a certain point in his life, and they were beautiful as well. Lithographs that were line drawings plus color, and all different amazing pieces of artwork. And he read each title. He then memorized each title because he had such a photographic memory.
And he was reading.
And he was reading by 2,
Yeah.
so 3 was, amazing to us. You would not have known that he was a 3-year-old in a museum because he was just so well behaved. He took it all in, and it was one of those days that we just felt like, you felt good about doing something that he absolutely adored doing, his passion.
Right.
And it was something he thrived on, and he will never forget it. It's one of those things that, we encourage certain things, but yet, honestly, if it was something that he didn't get to do, it would have had a really hard outcome. Very hard tantrums and throwing himself down, a lot of pushing, hitting, kicking, punching. So those behaviors would escalate if he wasn't getting something that he expected. So
And for us, we would never have made it to that museum. The only reason we would have stepped in is if my husband or I or my daughter wanted to go and really, really wanted to go, because it would have been a disaster. My son did like to be in the stroller, and he was in the stroller perhaps too long because he liked to be contained. He liked to be, kind of like give like the big hug.
It's a sensory thing.
He liked that a lot. And if I had let him out, he would have run around and we would have been tossed out of that museum within 25 seconds for touching the artwork.
Yeah.
So, and he wasn't even pairing 2 words together at that point at 3. So you see, in autism, it's just such a different spectrum of behaviors. My son's obviously come a long way and is doing well now, but those early years were really rough. So that's our tip is, once you meet one person with autism, you met one person with autism. All right, and if you'd like to comment, look below, comment below, and we'll get back to you. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you.